So Dan, I'm here at the Waverly Hall Cemetery and I'm looking at this grave, and I think we talked about it the other day. It's this old headstone that looks super worn. I think it's a mother and her baby buried here. What can you tell me about it?
That is the grave of Mary Craig Crawford, and she was the daughter of Major Osborne Crook, who's buried there near her. And the Crooks lived in Catala, what is now Catala, and they were members of Mount Zion Methodist Episcopal Church, which was there where that Waverly Hall Cemetery is now. Her mother, I believe, died in the 1830s, and she was buried there first. And then, of course, her father was buried there in the 1850s. But Mary Craig Crook was married to Martin J. Crawford, I believe, in Columbus. And he was a very prominent citizen of Columbus, both before and after the Civil War. Martin Crawford served on the cabinet, if memory serves me correct, that I read where he served on the cabinet of President Jefferson Davis's government, the Confederate government. And I believe he is buried in Linwood Cemetery in Columbus. Of course, she was his first wife, and she died during childbirth. And the baby died along with her, and they're both buried together. And I think it says on the headstone that the baby is buried encircled in her arms. But anyway, Mr. Crawford remarried later, and I believe he had lots of descendants maybe that still live around Columbus and Muscogee County area. I read up on this once, but I can't remember off the top of my head much more than that. But he was a very prominent citizen of Columbus.
Well, that's great. And I guess after I get her grave cleaned up, I got to go to Linwood Cemetery and find him.
Yeah. Shouldn't be too hard to find. I think that was a big family, the Martins and the Crawfords.
So something else Dan told me after I'd stopped recording was that he actually reset this stone at one time. He said it was buried so far in the ground that you couldn't even read it. And it needs to be reset again since it's leaning backwards. It's got a lot of growth on it. Now, as I've explained before, all of this growth that's on this stone is very damaging to the stone. This stuff gets into the pores of the stone and starts eating away at it, cracking the stone, causing small cracks, causing the surface to be damaged, causes it to be unreadable, and will eventually destroy the stone. Now, this one looks like it's in really bad shape, but I don't think it's in as bad shape as it looks, because what I'm seeing on this stone is a lot of just growth. The material of the stone itself is in bad shape. I'm brushing it very gently. None of it seems to really be like flaking off, so that is why I'm using the brushing method on it. But it's got a lot of growth built up on it. I'm worried that even after cleaning, this stone is going to be almost unreadable. But I was really hoping that at the end of today, we'd actually be able to read it. Maybe once it dries, we can get the flashlight on it. Now that the first layer of stuff is off of it, you can see the white and all that black marking on there, still that growth that's on it. Put some more D2 on it, and I'm just going to let it kind of soak in there and set in there for a minute. Boy, this one has so much built up on it. It is going to take a hot minute for this to actually clean up. See, down at the bottom, I can read this very well now. It says encircled in... How far down does this writing go? I have to let it dry and get the flashlight on it. Yeah, we're going to have to let this D2 really work on this stone. And then we'll have to come back and give you an update on it, because This has all of that black stuff on there is just growth on this stone. I actually still hold faith that this stone's going to clean up really, really well. But you can see all of that. That's just growth that's deep in the pores of this rock. And all that staining on the stone from all of the growth. Still, again, I think it'll clean up really, really well. I think it'll be beautiful. And I think it'll mostly go back to that color. I've actually cleaned up one that was worse than this. And it cleaned up nice, but we're gonna have to wait on this one. So while we wait on this other headstone to dry out, let's throw some D2 on this one. This must be her sister. Don't know that for sure. Could be wrong. She's Virginia Osborne Crook. Got to be another daughter of Major Osborne Crook. I haven't confirmed that, but I'm deducing that from what I'm seeing. And look at this stone. There's so much amazing detail on this stone. We have the dove here, the head is broken off. We got the cross, the grapes, it looks like, with a leaf over it. Of course, her shield, another broken piece right there. But look at all of the work and art on this stone. It's absolutely incredible and probably one of the nicest out here. She died young too. Virginia Osborne Crook died July 23rd, 1859, aged 26 years. And look at all the growth on this stone, like up here. See, all of this is actually really bad for the stone. Some people go off and say, oh, I like the patina. I like the way it looked beforehand, but this is preservation right here to clean all of this stuff off. We want all this to be around for as long as possible, as long as the headstone will last. And all of this growth on these stones is very, very bad for it. So it's 100% preservation to use the right cleaner. And that's another thing that's very important, is that you use the right cleaner. We're using D2 on this, which is biological cleaner. Gets in there and helps eat away at all the growth on these stones. Very important, use the right cleaner. Don't come out here with bleach or something like that. But that's another beautiful stone right there. And all this growth is damaging it. And it's slowly damaging it, of course. You know, nothing here happens quick. When it comes to this sort of thing, it's slowly being eaten away at by all of this growth. And it gets in there and it cracks the stones. It gets into the pores of the stone, and some of these create salts that react with the salts in the stone and turn into like an acid that eats away at the stone. It's just really bad for the lifespan of a headstone, because especially this old marble does have a lifespan, you know, depending on the quality of the stone used and all of that. It'll eventually break down naturally. Granite tends to look as good as new pretty much indefinitely, I found, but this marble, not so much. Not so much. So, you know, doing this helps ensure that this stuff is visible for future generations and looks like it should have looked when new. You know, the original families back in the 1850s who would put this stuff up, they wouldn't want it all covered in nastiness that's gonna break the stone down. And you just have to remember, because I've had people before say, well, I like the patina look of the headstone, and everyone is entitled to what they want to see and what they like, but they're not interested in the preservation of the stone in that case, because we are interested in the preservation of the stone, and patina, as it's called on the stone, isn't preservation. That's liking decay, basically. And I like decay in some cases myself, but also with a calling into the preservation world, have to understand that decay is not good. I see the beauty in a old, rotted down house or something like that. And I see the beauty in these headstones that are covered in all of this harmful growth. I do. But it's not good for the stone. I even see the beauty of finding a cemetery in the woods that looks like it hasn't been visited in ages. But then when we have to mix that with preservation, we want to keep these things around and preserve them. And it wasn't like this. It wasn't covered in all this black growth or the green moss or whatever that is. It was a beautiful, probably bright white, or whatever color the stone is, headstone. This one is really hard to actually brush off because it's got so much detail in there. Did you know that this cemetery is actually regarded as one of the most haunted? And that has led to a bunch of vandalism over the years. Because this cemetery used to be unkept and was vandalized by people who would not necessarily chase ghosts, but kids who would come out here and want to party in the haunted cemetery. Look at that, there we go. There's a little bit of cleaning happening there. Again, we're dealing with a situation where this is years and years and years of growth on this stone. So we're not getting that immediate, wow, that's amazing. Even when scrubbing it with this D2, because it's got so much on there. But we'll give it about a month and we'll come back out and check on it. And it'll be absolutely amazing. So this grave is dated 1859. I don't know if this headstone dates to 1859 or not, but I see no reason that it doesn't. The one beside it, what I believe is her sister's, a little bit earlier. And that headstone already looks better, so we're gonna jump back over to it and try to read it. So anytime that we're cleaning a grave, we always wanna see that. Oh my God, it looks amazing now. Instantaneously, instant satisfaction, but unfortunately these are just going to have to take some time. We're going to spray both of them back down to D2 when we leave, and then check on them again. Mary Craig Crawford, and it's still unreadable. As a sister, she was in, I don't know. But I can read her death date. She died the 18th year of her age. She's just 18. She died in the 18th year of her age on the 6th of May, 1841, I think. Could be 44, because sometimes the 1s and the 4s look alike. But then at the bottom is the most tragic part. Encircled in her arms, slumber, her infant. Oh man, it keeps going down. We got to get down and see that. It has a name. That's what it is. It has a name down there. And we got to just rip this grass out. Okay. It's covering up the stone. I gotta clean it off. Let me see if I can clean it off and read it. Osborne Craig Crawford. That's what it is. I've seen this grave before. I've never been able to read that. Encircled in her arms slumbers her infant, Osborne Craig Crawford. Wow. Named after her dad. It looks better. The stone looks better. And now that the sun is hiding behind the clouds, maybe we can have a second shot of reading this. Mrs. Mary Craig Crawford. While living, she enjoyed yeah, see, that's where I lose it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe y'all can pause it and read it. But it's going to look better. It's going to look better. And going to continue to clean up. And we'll come back and look at it when it's all cleaned up. Virginia Osborne Crook died 23rd, 1859, age 26 years. To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die. Isn't that sweet? Right there. That goes along with the old saying that you die twice. Once when you physically die, and the second time when the last time your name is spoken. And that's where that epitaph, to live in hearts we leave behind is not to die. Every heart that knew her has passed away, of course. But these stones, both of these are going to be absolutely beautiful. We come back and check on them in the future. So next time we have to find her husband, and I've got a lead on where his parents are. So this is going to be kind of an epic dive into finding these people. We know her husband's at Linwood. Got a lead on where his parents are. Her parents are, of course, here. So really an amazing dive into finding out who these people were and preserving these stones and cleaning them up as they should be. So I'm going to spray everything back down with D2, and we're going to call it a day. So this is just a little bit of preservation work right here, working on these headstones. Cleaning them is preservation. But I'm currently involved in the biggest undertaking that I have ever done, and that is the restoration of a cemetery that was vandalized for around 100 years. People vandalized the cemeteries, grave robbers hit it. It has been nearly absolutely destroyed. This is the biggest project I've ever done, and it's coming along very well. We've got videos coming of it when it's done. But if you'd like to support, I have a link down below with my donation link for PayPal. Or if you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, one can be mailed to HCX Preservation, P.O. Box 206, Waverly Hall, Georgia. A lot of y'all don't know I'm actually president of a local historic group of 501c status. So whenever anybody says, have you told local historic society about it yet? Well, I kind of already know. But I'm involved in a big preservation project. So if you'd like to support that, I'm funding it totally out of pocket. So if you'd like to support it, it'd be greatly appreciated. And this one will be absolutely amazing. It's the biggest thing we've ever done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, seeing this grave. We will return when these graves are all cleaned up. We're also going to visit her husband and his parents. His parents are in a kind of abandoned looking cemetery. Should be interesting to see. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on another adventure into history.